All right, we're here at my outdoor worm bin, and the last time we were in here, we were in for a smelly situation because we checked on a whole cabbage that we had put in here about 23 days ago. And what I did before we got here is I harvested a bunch of castings and I counted out 200 worms. So we're gonna put those in a time lapse at the end, and I'm gonna let you see what 200 worms looks like so you can kind of gauge how many worms you have in your bins. So let's go ahead and dig down and see if we can find any of the cabbage remaining. And we did put a tiny feeding on the very top, and that consisted of some celery stalks and strawberry tops and a small banana peel. And then we put some of the cabbage into different kinds of recyclable packaging. So I want to see if they ate the whole thing. And it has been 13 days since we were in here last, but 23 days since we put that cabbage in. Another thing you may be noticing is that the castings and the bedding here is really wet. And that is because I've been adding a lot of moisture throughout, which I can do in this bin because it's made out of 2 fabric pots, which have a material that allows water to seep through. So you never have to worry about like flooding your bin or that kind of thing. I'm starting to feel some stuff, and this is kind of coming apart, but it feels like it is, part of that recycling packaging. And you can see some of those white dots that I've seen other people do experiments with. And you know what? I just kind of forgot what happened with the white dots in their bins. So I'll have to either search the comments if someone can mention if they have put these white dot packaging material in the comments. And maybe I can go back and look at their videos. But yeah, we still have just a little bit of the cabbage that was in there, not a whole lot. So that's good. They're kind of taking it apart and really can't distinguish too well between the cabbage and the bedding right there. So that's good. Let's keep digging in and see if there's any more in here. I know we put all our other worm treasures in here as well, like a pumpkin stalk and that kind of thing. And yep, there it is right there. So no real difference to it. It's not getting any more mushier, but the worms certainly like to hide in the crevices of it. And then we've got various avocado peels. And here's some more of that packaging. They really just kind of got through it and are all over it. And that's probably thanks to a lot of the moisture that I put in there. If you're adding a lot of bedding, make sure that you add some moisture, depending on what kind of bin you have. If you have a bin that drains, then certainly you can add a lot more moisture than in a bin that is doesn't have any holes on the bottom or just retains all the water. So I'm going to keep ripping that up. There was one other little package in here. I want to see if I can find it. This is part of it. It's really amazing how they can just kind of go through a closed package that seals in food. I think this one sealed in a candy bar. They're just able to go right through it. But yeah, I don't see any big pieces of that cabbage. So I think we can declare that thing gone. Now, I will say that next time I will not put a whole kit of cabbage in here, even though I froze it. I will probably cut it up into at least fourths before I put it in the freezer so that I can then put it right back in. But let's go ahead and dig around a little bit more. I'm really liking how many worms are in here and just how the moisture feels compared to the bedding and all the shredded cardboard we put in here. So let me dig around some more and then we'll come back and feed it. I think that right there is what is left of the banana stalk. Pretty remarkable. They brought it down to just the center stalk where all the bunches or hands of bananas come off of. Just really rich castings in here. So as I was aerating and digging through there, one of the things I noticed is that there is just a really good increased volume in here of material and of worms. So this bin is starting to go on all cylinders again. It does slow down just a little bit in the winter, but as we get towards summer, a little piece of plastic in here somehow. But as we go through the summer, it tends to really burn through food scraps and the population explodes, that kind of thing. So we've got all our old stuff down there. I'm going to add a little bit more bedding, and then we're going to get back to our regularly scheduled big feedings for this. So I always like to add carbon or bedding every time I feed, so we'll do that. And this is what I had in mind to feed, just a lot of food scraps that we've used throughout the week. And I'll just dump it in like there. So wow, this is a lot. A lot of banana peels, which can take up to 3 or 4 weeks to totally get eaten. And the stalks themselves, those could be in here for months. But they also have a lot of fast food like these strawberry tops, so that's good. And they've got one of the crowd favorites, a watermelon. So we'll go ahead and put that in there like that. And then I'm going to add some bedding on top because we're also going to add 200 worms in here so that you can get an idea of what that looks like. So the executive producer, who is my lovely wife, made a great save and reminded me to add the amendments. And this is just some worm chow that I blended up in my magic bullet blender. I use expired items from my pantry, and I think in here we had some coconut flour and coconut sugar. So we'll just add a little bit of that in there. And then we'll go in with some coffee and tea grounds, and this thing is getting really full, so I'll probably have to add some of it to my compost pile. But this is just another food source for them, and neither of these two amendments are necessary for a healthy worm bin. They're really just a way for me to get rid of my food scraps, and the worms enjoy them too, and I get the benefit of the nutrients going into my garden. And this is just some pulverized eggshells that, again, I grind up in my magic bullet blender, and they aid in the digestion for the worms because they have gizzards. All right, so we'll top it off with a little bit more carbon, and this is just going in dry, and these shreds are created from my 12-sheet cross-cut micro shredder. Got some affiliate links if you're interested to see prices, but I really like how small this does. I think the 12-sheet nature of it is what allows you to put cardboard through it, and the micro cut is what makes it so small. So we'll just go in from the sides and bury this up, and you can just see how many worms are in this material. I estimate that there's about 5,000, but I could be wrong. There could be more. I think next time, or I don't want to make a rule for myself, but maybe one of the next couple times I'll dump this whole thing out and weigh the worms that I find, because I've started to take the weights of all the worms I've counted, and I've kind of put them on a chart to see what the slope of the line is and kind of get a formula for me to find out how much my worms weigh per amount of worms. And I'll throw that on the video for you to see. So here we go. Inside here is 200 worms, and we're just going to dump them out, and we'll do a quick time lapse for you. But get a quick look right here so that you can see what 200 worms looks like, especially for when AV asks you how many worms are in his bin. So I think most of the worms have gone underneath. We just got a few that maybe think they're underneath. So I'm just going to add a little bit more bedding on top. And I think that will do it. So I hope you're having a great day. I hope your worm bins are doing well. So happy vermicomposting, everybody. Take care now.